push people further into Facebook land and away from the real world. His essay, The Last Days of Reality. Hello, Mark.
Hi there.
When did you stop using Facebook?
It was the end of May in 2010. At that point, I'd been studying social networks for a few years. There'd been a bunch of research out of Harvard University that actually showed that just by analyzing someone's social graph, which is just the network of people that you're connected to, you could actually learn all sorts of things about a person that they wouldn't reveal about themselves. For instance, their sexual preference, their marital status, how likely they were to get divorced, because it turns out that divorce actually spreads through social networks. If your friends are getting divorced, you're more likely to get divorced.
Really?
If
wow.
your friends are obese, you're more likely to be obese. If your friends are smokers. And so it's this whole thing that was a real X-ray of a person. And all this data was turning up. And you see, it kind of makes sense. It was all coming out in sort of 09 and 10. And at that point, I was like, wait a minute. Facebook has this enormous social graph. I have, 500-600 friends on Facebook, and I don't know how they're using any of this information. And because they don't talk about how they're using this information, I don't know if I trust how they're using this information. And at that point, my own sort of native caution overruled all the benefits of being on Facebook, and I quit Facebook.
I, like I say, have always stayed away from Facebook, so I don't suffer from fear of missing out, FOMO as it's called, because I don't know what I'm missing, so to speak. Do you miss Facebook? Do you want to ever feel like you wish you would be back there?
So there are some groups, and this has become a feature of the modern world, there are some groups that I belong to that do all of their organizing via Facebook, and I have to rely on someone emailing me when something's going on that I need to know about. And sometimes that's a problem. Sometimes I don't find out about things until it's very late and I'm the last person on the registration list or whatever it might be. And so there's clearly a social cost associated with that.
My wife's on Facebook, and so people go, so can you just tell your husband, can you just tell him, or...
But that tells us something about how dominant Facebook has become inside the social sphere. That what's happened is that over the last 10 years, all of the social normal interchange that might have been happening digitally or might have been happening on phone calls or might have been happening face-to-face has all been sucked into a single sphere that's controlled by a single organization.
So this was about 7 or 8 years ago you gave up Facebook. What's happened since then to make you want to look again at Facebook, more closely at the social media giant?
So the genesis of the article was from an article that was published in The Australian on the 1st of May this year. And the media reporter at The Australian had seen a deck that Facebook was showing around to Australian advertisers. So this is something that's happening very much in the country. And what it showed was that Facebook had such accurate real-time profiling of its users. They could identify when those users who were as young as 14 were feeling sad or depressed or anxious or a failure, and they would be able to tell those advertisers exactly when they would was the best time to pop an ad into their Facebook news feed, so that these kids would start to feel, if I buy this, I will feel better about myself because I'm feeling down right now. So, while they're in the Facebook feed and they're feeling down, they're going to see this, do this. And the obvious intention is if they do that, if they spend this money, they'll feel better about themselves. So they'll use that as a way to scaffold them back into feeling better. But the thing that was uncovered there is that Facebook had developed such sophisticated analytics about its users that it could know this about its users literally in real time. That seemed like a very long arrow until you understand what Facebook has turned into, say, over the last about 5 years. So from about the time that Facebook went public in 2012 to now, so the end of 2017, that's 5.5 years, Facebook has had to grow in order to justify its stock price. This is what companies do when they go public. And they had 2 ways of growing. One was they could add users, and Facebook went from just a little under 1 billion users when they went public to about 2 billion users today. Okay, so that's a huge number of users. And if you've got countries like Indonesia, Facebook and the internet are effectively thought of as the same thing in a lot of these places because they just arrived together on a smartphone. The other side of the coin was what they call increasing user engagement. And this is the really important thing, because it's not just enough, because Facebook makes money by sending ads to its users. It's great if you have more users because you send more ads out. But now you want these users to be on Facebook as much as possible. So again, you can send each user more ads.
It's like radio. Radio is the same. You measure radio ratings the same way. First of all, there's the head count of the amount of people who are listening at any one time, and then there's the time spent listening, the length of time they've got the radio on in their ear. Sounds like just the same thing that Facebook wants to grow both ways.
It does want to grow both ways, but now Facebook, because it has an individual profile, radio is about profiling an entire audience and deliver something for the entire audience. Facebook now has this capacity to profile individual users and adjust their newsfeed. So a Facebook newsfeed is something that is generated by the algorithm. We'll put that in the scare quotes. We need to actually unpack that a little bit, because everyone goes, oh, an algorithm, it's big, sophisticated, complicated, and then wave it away. That algorithm started out very simply. It was based on the friends you had and the things that you'd liked, and maybe the movies you said you liked and whether other people liked them. It started out very simply. What's happened over the last 5 years is it's become deeply integrated with modern artificial intelligence. Now, this is a whole other little side thing. Artificial intelligence has gone from being a rarity to being very commonplace over the last 5 years. A lot of the core technologies for what we call machine learning have become fast and cheap. And so a lot of this is now built into Facebook. So Facebook, while you're using it, if you open the app on your smartphone, everything you're doing on Facebook, every time you scroll up and down, how long you stare at something, whether you click on a link, whether you share it, who you share it with, every action is being meticulously recorded and sent back to Facebook, and it's going into your profile. And so it's looking at, oh, you're looking at this ad. Oh, you're looking at this article, and this article is about these things, and you're really looking at it. Oh, okay. And so now the artificial intelligence is watching all of this, and what it's doing is it's tuning the decisions it makes about what goes into your newsfeed based on what it's already learned from how you've reacted to the other things that have gone into your newsfeed.
So Facebook has mechanisms in its software that acts like a Polaroid picture, I suppose. You slowly come into greater focus, greater detail, the crisper resolution with each tiny little thing you do.
That is a really nice analogy. I like that. That's absolutely it. And the more fine resolution that comes in, the better the decisions are. And so eventually the news feed gets so good that it becomes harder to look away. And where we are now, the average Facebook user is spending 50 minutes a day in the news feed, which is pretty much all of your spare time when you're not doing something that's actually important. And so now Facebook has basically built something that's so attractive to you that you can't look away from it.